In the last 2 to 3 years, the far-left, politically correct, regressive liberal movement has transitioned from mentally ill to batshit crazy insane and begun to accelerate its efforts to destroy society. Some say the disturbingly quick growth of their influence in the past few years has been down to the fact that people are wising up to their bullshit and now they've become more desperate. They may be beginning to lose their political power and grip on public discourse, and consequently, they've started doubling down on those people who disagree with them. The theory certainly seems plausible given the emergence of a growing YouTube movement of rational and intellectual critics who have begun a backlash against regressives and social justice warriors, calling them out on their nonsense. There's nothing liberal about a regressive liberal. They've become authoritarian and puritanical in their beliefs and behaviors. Their act has become tiresome and predictable. So in case you weren't already aware, here's 5 signs that you're a regressive liberal. Number 5. You're against freedom of speech. Despite claiming to be liberal, tolerant, and preaching inclusiveness, you can only apply this policy to those who agree with you or to those you deem to be marginalized minorities who fit your narrative of intersectional oppression. Dissenting opinion of any kind is heresy against your regressive doctrines. For example, Yale University students recently signed a petition on campus to have the First Amendment protecting free speech removed from the US Constitution. This is the same campus where students claim that the role of college professors and faculty members is not to create a place of intellectual debate, but to create a home. If you're a regressive, then you believe people's right to feel comfortable should come before free speech. This is a highly dangerous belief system because offense is never given, it's only ever taken. Who becomes the ultimate arbiter of what kind of speech is acceptable and what kind of speech isn't? The truth is, free speech must come with no clause or caveat. If you ever utter a phrase like, "I'm all for freedom of speech, but," then you're against free speech because you're a regressive. Number 4. You're extremely racist and bigoted. In the regressive insanosphere, white people, and especially white heterosexual men, are privileged shitlords with power they inherited at birth, apparently. Multiculturalism must be used to create a more diverse Western world, i.e. unfiltered mass immigration should be encouraged from developing nations to ethnically cleanse the West of the Caucasian cancer infesting it. You believe that affirmative action must be used in education, politics, the media, and the workplace in order to help women and ethnic minorities to break through systematically oppressive barriers, which don't actually exist. You believe that anyone who isn't white in a predominantly white nation should be given special treatment and receive important positions they haven't earned. You believe that people should be judged on the color of their skin or on their genitals and not on the quality of their ideas or the content of their character. In your worldview, the meritocracy is unfair because it rewards those who work the hardest and produce the best results. You believe this is a bad thing because it doesn't automatically give minorities a victim narrative that would imbue them with a special privileged status. Believing women and ethnic minorities to be weak and helpless and in need of constant assistance from the state just by virtue of being what they are is what George W. Bush called the soft bigotry of low expectations. Telling all white men to check their privilege and downgrading their issues as being irrelevant is racist and bigoted against white men. You point out what you believe to be racism, sexism, bigotry, and Islamophobia in other people everywhere, but you use bigotry and reverse racism on white people all the time. White people must be held responsible for the past sins of their colonial ancestors in a kind of original sin. This is ironic, given how many of these social justice warriors are also atheists. Number 3. Your arguments aren't arguments at all. When arguing against the position of your opponent, you will rarely engage with what they've said or attempt to address their argument at all. Instead, you'll label them something like bigoted, misogynistic, or call them out on the grounds of hate speech. Instead of carefully considering the statement of those you disagree with, you simply smear them and resort to name-calling or even doxing. When that doesn't work, you'll also attempt to change the conversation and attack the character of your opponent or undermine their credibility in some way. You may also respond from a position of narcissistic sanctimoniousness. For example, when someone argues with a feminist SJW on Twitter, the feminist may simply reply with the now iconic response, "Educate yourself," or "Read a book," or "Google it." They won't actually cite credible sources for their opinions. They may also adopt what I call the because reasons philosophy, like Justin Trudeau, when asked why he felt it was important to have a cabinet comprised equally of men and women. He simply said, because it's 2015. This isn't a reason. Stating that the reason you took a certain action was because it was the current year that it is like saying because the sky is blue. Of course, women should be allowed to enter politics if they wish and to even pursue the highest positions in office. No one but a genuine bigot would dispute that. But no one should receive a special path to these positions based purely on their gender. This philosophy means that the best and most talented people in our society won't necessarily get hired for the job, and that more highly skilled, worthy, intelligent, and hardworking people will be unfairly prevented from competing for it. Number 2, you like banning things. Everything is problematic, everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. From free speech, jokes, certain TV shows, Halloween costumes, certain triggering words, books, and even people, you love to ban things that don't serve what you deem to be the greater good. The reason you choose to ban things is because you're simply not able to deal with the real world. You ban things that make you uncomfortable and then flee to your safe space for protection from difficult conversations, scary ideas, and the big bad adult world. You may go so far with your banning addiction as to even resort to using false copyright claims against content creators in order to silence them and their work. Finally, number 1, you deny reality. This is the big one. Not only do you not believe that the meritocracy is the fairest possible system to run a society on, you also deny the damage that multiculturalism is having on Western civilization. You refuse to admit that despite the fact that the majority of the world's 1.5 billion Muslims are peaceful, 15 to 20% of them support Islamism, and this is the reason Islam is still in need of a reformation. If someone admits this, you'll label them racist and Islamophobic, despite Islam not being an actual race. By shutting down this conversation, you prevent true liberal reformers in the Islamic faith from coming forward and beginning a positive dialogue that would lead to such peaceful reforms. You deny the reality of fundamental biological differences between men and women and buy into the pseudo-scientific notion that gender is a social construct. You believe all gendered behavior is learned from society and not innate, when in fact, only some gender characteristics are born out of environment and the rest are set by your genetics. You believe masculinity is toxic, all men are potential rapists and murderers, and that there's a big bad scary patriarchy at work that's oppressing Western women. This is despite the fact that you can provide no real-world evidence for this outside of the postmodern propaganda you were educated into believing in your Marxist gender studies course. You subscribe to third-wave feminism, which is totalitarian, ideological, and deeply misandrist, and has already destroyed gender dynamics in the West and practically obliterated the institution of marriage. You believe in the gender pay gap, which has been comprehensively dismantled countless times. It clearly exists, but not for the reasons you believe. Women get paid less than men on average because they work less hours and tend to enter lower paid fields. So those are just 5 signs that someone is a regressive liberal. Be sure to provide your own examples in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.